Alright, bounty hunters, lock in, because this is not your average Metroid Prime retrospective. Today on Veteran Game, we're going deep past the morph ball puzzles, behind the visor, right into the messy, chaotic, genius heart of one of gaming's greatest legends. Metroid Prime didn't just reboot a classic, it survived every disaster imaginable, and its story is full of wild secrets, heartbreak, and pure Nintendo magic. If you love Metroid or just want a peek behind the curtain at how icons are made, smash that like button and subscribe for more brutally honest deep dives. Okay, Metroid Prime, the GameCube classic, the 3D evolution of Samus Aran. It's a game that sits on a lot of best ever lists. But did you know Metroid Prime was basically DOA before it even started? Let's rewind to the late 90s when Nintendo had no idea what to do with Metroid. Super Metroid on SNES had set the bar sky high. Then, nothing. 5 years of silence. Metroid skipped the entire Nintendo 64 era, and fans were convinced Samus was done. But out of nowhere, in the early 2000s, a weird little studio in Austin, Texas, Retro Studios, gets the job. Retro was brand new, totally unproven, and to be blunt, a mess. Picture this. Retro Studios was founded to make mature GameCube games, not Metroid. We're talking sports games, a car combat game, even a weird RPG. The studio was bleeding money, people were quitting left and right, and nothing was coming together. And then, like a power bomb to the gut, Nintendo drops a bombshell. You're making Metroid. In first person, good luck. Yes, first person. Metroid, a series famous for its 2D exploration, was being handed over to a bunch of rookie Americans and turned into a first-person adventure. The internet lost its mind. Forums exploded. How could Nintendo trust Retro? Why betray the side-scroller legacy? Even Shigeru Miyamoto was skeptical, and he's, well, Miyamoto. Retro started with chaos. Miyamoto flew to Texas to check on the team. What he found: 4 half-baked projects and no clear vision. Miyamoto did what Miyamoto does. He cancelled everything except Metroid Prime and told the team, focus or it's over. Imagine that pressure. A legendary IP, a studio with a revolving door of devs and a ticking clock. But here's the wild part. The people at Retro, many of whom had never shipped a console game before, were absolute legends. They crunched hard. We're talking 80-hour weeks, sleeping under desks, sometimes literally bleeding for this game. People were quitting, getting fired, and just burning out left and right. But out of that pain came magic. Now let's talk about the code, the engineering genius behind Metroid Prime. Retro's tech lead, Mark Hay Hutchinson, built the game's engine almost from scratch. This wasn't Unreal or Unity. This was bespoke, messy, and totally customized to do things the GameCube wasn't supposed to do. The seamless transitions between gameplay and cutscenes. That visor effect that fogs up when Samus walks through Steam. Those weren't just cool touches, they were impossible at the time. And if you think crunch is bad now, buckle up. Retro Studios was in full-on survival mode. We're talking stories of pizza boxes stacked to the ceiling, developers hiding under desks to nap, people living on caffeine and raw stubbornness. Why? Because every week Nintendo Japan would send over feedback. Sometimes it was just a fax that said no. Sometimes it was Miyamoto himself demanding a feature be added or ripped out that week. The team was tiny, the schedule was brutal. But what made Metroid Prime legendary was how much everyone cared. They'd work all night on a morph ball puzzle, then scrap it because it wasn't Metroid enough. They argued over every detail. Should Samus talk? Should the game have a map? Should there be scanning? Let's not forget the soundtrack. Kenji Yamamoto's music is iconic, but the way it's woven into the game was totally new for the time. The ambient, eerie soundscapes, the way themes return in different biomes, it all makes the world feel alive. There's a reason fans still remix Prime's music 20 years later. Oh, and those little details, Samus's reflection in the visor, rain running down your screen, the morph ball's physics, none of that was in the original plan. The devs just kept sneaking in more, even as deadlines loomed, because they wanted every inch of the game to feel alive. But here's the real twist. With less than a year left, Metroid Prime was barely a game. It didn't RUN.IT crashed constantly. The world was empty, even the art wasn't done. People were calling Retro a disaster, and Nintendo was this close to pulling the plug. It took an absolute Herculean push, the kind that wrecks people, to bring it together. The final months, insane. Retro's developers would run a new build to Miyamoto and Nintendo for feedback, fly back, implement changes, rinse, repeat. Sometimes massive chunks got reworked in a single weekend. The crunch nearly killed the studio, but somehow it worked. Metroid Prime dropped in November 2002 and instantly became a legend. Critics and fans raved. All those weird design risks, they paid off. The first-person perspective wasn't just a gimmick, it redefined how you explored alien worlds. The scanning system, now it's a genre staple. The vibe, pure isolation and awe, just like the best Metroids. And Retro Studios, they went from the brink of collapse to gaming royalty. Suddenly, this tiny Texas team was the keeper of one of Nintendo's most beloved franchises. They made 2 more Prime games, each pushing the envelope. And even as team members left or moved on, the legacy of Prime lived on. But here's what a lot of people don't know. Metroid Prime's story is about more than code and crunch. It's about vision. It's about a group of misfits, outcasts, and legends who cared so much about getting it right that they risked everything. It's about Nintendo trusting a brand new team with a sacred cow and getting one of the best games ever made. There's still drama, people left Retro burned out or even angry. Some of the legends behind the code never got their due. But what they made, against all odds, was nothing short of magic. So next time you fire up Metroid Prime and roll into a ball, or hear that iconic menu music, remember, it's not just a game. It's a miracle. It's proof that sometimes the best legends are forged under the wildest pressure. The untold stories, the crunch, the drama, the random acts of genius. That is what makes Metroid Prime unforgettable. What other legends do you want exposed next? Got a favorite Metroid memory? Drop it in the comments, and don't forget, hit subscribe for more behind the scenes deep dives. Veteran Game isn't here for the easy takes. We're here for the real stories, the heartbreak, the drama, and the absolute joy of gaming history. This is Veteran Game, and we just cracked open code behind the legend. See you next mission.